Here's the truth. She doesn't crave the man who gives her everything. She craves the man she can never fully have. If you've ever found yourself doing all the right things, texting back instantly, buying flowers, planning dates, and still watched her pull away, you're not alone. Most men are taught to please, to be safe, to prove they're good enough. But here's the problem. Safety without mystery is boring. Predictability kills desire faster than anything else. What she won't tell you, and might not even admit to herself, is that she's drawn to a certain kind of man. Not the reckless jerk, not the arrogant show-off, but the man who commands the room without raising his voice, the man whose presence feels scarce, whose attention feels earned, the man who can say no and mean it. This isn't about playing games or being cruel. It's about understanding the deeper psychology at play, what women respond to on an instinctive, almost primal level. Once you see the truth, you can stop chasing her approval and start pulling her into your world. In this video, I'm going to break down the traits of the monster she secretly desires but will never openly admit to. The kind of man who stays in her head long after he's left the room. The kind of man she wants to tame but never can. Let's get into it. Number 1. Unleash the man she can't tame. Every woman says she wants a good man, but here's the twist. What she feels drawn to is a man she can't fully control, not a man who's reckless or dangerous for the sake of it, but a man whose will is unshakable. The type who can care deeply, but will never surrender his identity just to keep her happy. Let me give you an example. David, 48, runs a successful construction business in Texas. He's been seeing Laura, 44, for a few months. Laura's used to men rearranging their lives to fit around hers, but David is different. He's kind, generous, and attentive when they're together, but he never cancels his morning workouts, skips his business meetings, or compromises his weekend fishing trips with his son. She notices. At first, she tests him, dropping hints about wanting him to be more available. But when she sees he won't break his routine to chase her, something changes. Her attraction grows. That's because women are wired to respect strength. And strength isn't about how loud you talk or how much you can lift. It's about the boundaries you refuse to compromise. When you stand firm in who you are, you communicate that your world doesn't revolve around her, and that makes you magnetic. This is where most men get it wrong. They think winning her over means bending every preference, hobby, and habit to please her. But in doing that, they erase the very qualities that made her interested in the first place. She wants to feel your independence. She wants to know that your attention is valuable because it's not given away to just anyone, anytime. From a Stoic perspective, this is about self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength shows when you don't let her emotions dictate your actions. If she tries to pull you into unnecessary drama, you stay calm. If she asks you to give up something essential to you, you politely but firmly refuse. You're showing her, not telling her, that you live by your principles. There's also an important psychological effect here. When she sees you as a man with his own life, his own mission, and his own unshakable frame, she feels both secure and challenged. Secure because she knows you're steady, and challenged because she knows she can't simply tame you. That tension is where attraction lives. You don't need to be cold or distant to create this dynamic. In fact, it's the combination of warmth and firmness that makes it powerful. Show her kindness and affection, but make sure it's on your terms. If you give her the best of you while staying true to your boundaries, she'll respect you more and desire you more. David never once had to lay down the law with Laura. He simply lived his life as he always had, invited her into it, but never abandoned it for her. That's why months later, she's still leaning in, still wanting more of his time, still feeling that she hasn't quite figured him out. And here's the truth: when you become the man she can't tame, you're no longer chasing her approval. She's leaning into you, drawn by the very independence that makes you who you are. Drop a comment below with, "I keep my frame." If you've ever held your ground and watched the respect grow, keep watching, because in the next part, we're going to talk about how to make her chase your attention instead of the other way around. And once you understand this, you'll never look at attraction the same way again. Number 2, make her hunger for your presence. Here's a truth most men miss. Desire doesn't grow in constant exposure, it grows in space. When you're always around, always available, you remove the very thing that makes your presence feel valuable: scarcity. Think about it. If every time she reaches out, you instantly respond, if every weekend is automatically reserved for her, if every free moment is filled with her, she never gets the chance to miss you. And if she never misses you, she never hungers for you. Women are far more responsive to anticipation than men realize. It's the moments you're not there, the pauses between your time together, that give her mind room to wander. She starts replaying your words. She starts imagining what you're doing. She starts wondering when she'll see you again. And that wondering is fuel for attraction. The key here is intentional absence, not neglect. You're not disappearing for weeks or playing childish, ignore her games. You're simply living your life fully outside of her. You have a mission, a schedule, and priorities that don't vanish because she's in the picture. From a Stoic perspective, this is about self-governance. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you control your time and your focus, you show her without a lecture that your life isn't dictated by her whims. That subtle message builds respect and intrigue. Here's how it works in practice. Instead of rushing to see her every night, you might spend an evening working on a personal project, training at the gym, or catching up with friends. When you do see her, you're bringing fresh energy, new stories, and the feeling that being with you is an event, not a routine. She starts to see your time as something worth earning. And when you're with her, you're fully present. You're not half scrolling your phone or distracted. You're engaged, attentive, and making the moment count. That's the paradox. Your absence builds anticipation, and your presence becomes magnetic because it's rare and intentional. Men who fail this often do so out of fear. They think, if I'm not constantly available, she'll lose interest. The reality? It's the opposite. Constant availability makes her feel secure, but not excited. And excitement is what keeps her chasing. This is why high-value men don't flood her with attention. They give her moments to breathe, to think, to feel the gap between interactions. That gap is where her desire lives. If she's texting you first, if she's trying to lock down the next time you'll see each other, you've succeeded. When you create that hunger, she'll lean in, she'll wonder what you're doing, who you're with, what's on your mind. And when you finally walk into the room, she'll feel that spark, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you weren't there for her to take for granted. If you've ever seen how absence can pull someone closer, drop this in the comments. I create space. In the next section, we're going to explore why keeping your mission bigger than her is the single most powerful move you can make, and how it changes the entire dynamic in your favor. Number 3. Keep your throne above her world. One of the fastest ways to lose a woman's respect is to step down from your own throne and live entirely in her world. Too many men abandon their priorities, their goals, even their friendships. The moment a relationship heats up, they think they're showing devotion. What they're really showing is that her life matters more than their own, and that kills attraction. Picture this. Michael, 42, is a corporate attorney in Chicago. He starts dating Sarah, 39, a creative director. She's drawn to his ambition, his discipline, the way he runs his life like a well-oiled machine. But 6 months in, Michael starts skipping workouts to join Sarah for brunch. He cancels work meetings because she really wants to see him today. He lets his own projects gather dust. Sarah notices, but not in a good way. The man who once commanded his life now feels like he's orbiting hers. The very qualities that attracted her have started to fade. When you're on your throne, you're the king of your domain. That doesn't mean you're cold or detached. It means you stay rooted in your mission, your vision, and your identity, no matter how much you care for her. You invite her into your kingdom, but you don't abandon it to live in hers. From a Stoic standpoint, this is about prioritizing what you can control and staying true to your path. Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Your port, your purpose, is what makes you compelling. When you give that up, you become directionless, and women can sense it instantly. There's another layer to this. Women are naturally drawn to leaders, not followers. When you hold your ground, you're communicating that your life has a structure, a center of gravity, and she's a valued part of it, but not the center of it. That's where healthy attraction thrives. Michael's story could have gone differently. Imagine if, instead of canceling his meetings, he told Sarah, "I can't meet this afternoon. I've got something important to handle, but I'll call you after, and we'll set something up for tomorrow." He's not rejecting her. He's showing her that his commitments still stand. That subtle difference keeps her respect alive. And here's the thing, when you keep your throne, she actually feels more secure. She knows you're not going to lose yourself in her. She knows you're not desperate, and that confidence is intoxicating. This doesn't mean you never make sacrifices or adjustments. It means you're intentional about them. You don't give up something essential to your identity just to avoid disappointing her. You're the leader in your own life, and leaders don't abandon the helm. If you've ever held your ground and watched a woman lean in closer, type in the comments, "I rule my world." And don't go anywhere, because next, you'll see why refusing softness while still showing warmth creates a tension that women find irresistible. Number 4. Refuse softness, command respect. There's a dangerous trap that many men fall into once they feel a woman is truly theirs. They get soft. Not in a kind, caring way, but in a way that erodes the very masculine energy that drew her in. They stop challenging her, stop holding their ground, and start seeking her approval instead of commanding her respect. When a man becomes too accommodating, always yielding to her moods and demands, the dynamic shifts. What began as attraction slowly turns into quiet disappointment. She won't tell you directly because most women can't articulate it in words, but she'll start to test you more. She'll push boundaries, not because she's cruel, but because she's trying to see if you still have that edge. A Stoic understands that comfort is the enemy of growth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If you let her reactions control your behavior, you're handing over that power. By refusing softness, you're not shutting out empathy. You're making sure that your identity isn't molded by the fear of upsetting her. Think about it. A man who always says yes, who bends at every request, might think he's making her happy. But what she really feels is that she's in control, and deep down, that kills the polarity between you. The spark thrives when she senses your independence, when she knows you're capable of walking away rather than compromising your values. Refusing softness means maintaining your standards even in moments of intimacy. It's holding your line when she tries to pull you into emotional storms, staying calm when she expects you to react. It's the discipline to say, "I hear you, but this is where I stand," without raising your voice or apologizing for having a backbone. It also means not giving away your mystery. The monster she secretly desires is strong not just physically, but mentally. He doesn't spill every thought, doesn't over-explain his decisions, and doesn't make himself an open book just to be liked. He lets her work for his trust and respect, the same way he works for hers. This kind of strength creates tension, the good kind. It's what keeps her leaning in, wondering what's going on in your mind, what you'll do next. And that tension is magnetic. Women may protest when you refuse to be overly soft, but they respect it. And in the long run, they crave it, because it tells them you can be trusted to lead, to protect, and to remain unshaken no matter how intense things get. If you've ever stood your ground and felt the shift in how she looks at you, drop this in the comments. I hold the line. And keep watching, because next, you'll discover how guarding your mind like a fortress makes you impossible to manipulate and even more impossible to forget. Number 5. Guard your mind like a fortress. Your mind is the ultimate battleground. If she can get inside it, plant doubts, or control your emotions, she owns the most valuable territory you have. And once that happens, you're no longer leading, you're reacting. Take David, 46, a real estate investor from Dallas. He met Lisa, 41, a vibrant yoga instructor. At first, David was grounded and composed. He didn't let small disagreements rattle him. But as the relationship deepened, Lisa began testing him, dropping subtle comments about other men, questioning his decisions, and probing for emotional weaknesses. Instead of holding steady, David started overthinking every word she said, replaying conversations in his head late at night. It wasn't long before his confidence cracked, and the man she once admired seemed unsure and needy. This is why you have to guard your mind like a fortress. In Stoic philosophy, Epictetus warned, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your thoughts shape your reactions, and your reactions shape the way she sees you." If you let every emotional jab, every teasing remark, every moment of silence get under your skin, you hand her the keys to your mental stronghold. Guarding your mind doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means filtering what you allow to influence your emotions. When she tries to provoke a reaction, you remain calm. When she tests your boundaries, you enforce them without hostility. You don't reveal insecurity through over-explaining or defending yourself unnecessarily. The monster she secretly desires is unshakable, not because he's indifferent, but because he knows where his mental gates are, and he doesn't let anyone storm them without purpose. Just like a fortress has walls, gates, and guards, you must have filters for what thoughts you entertain, what words you respond to, and what actions you take. David could have handled things differently. Instead of questioning himself after Lisa's comments, he could have evaluated whether her words aligned with reality or were simply tests of his strength. By doing so, he would have kept his mental walls intact and his leadership energy alive. When your mind is guarded, you project certainty. And certainty is intoxicating. She knows she can't manipulate your emotions or pull you into her storms. That sense of stability draws her in even more. It makes her feel safe, even if she'll never admit that's why she's hooked. But guarding your mind is a daily discipline. You can't build a fortress overnight, and you can't maintain one without consistent effort. That means daily practices that sharpen your mental clarity, whether it's journaling, physical training, or moments of silent reflection. You train your mind to filter noise from truth, impulse from intention. When you master this, something powerful happens. She starts respecting you more, even when she's frustrated with you. She knows you're not a man who breaks under pressure, and in her eyes, that's rare and deeply attractive. If you've ever refused to let someone mess with your peace, type in the comments, "I protect my mind." And don't go anywhere, because next, you'll learn why letting her feel the weight of your absence can be far more powerful than anything you do in her presence. Number 6. Turn your silence into heat. Most men fear silence in a relationship. They think every pause needs to be filled, every unanswered text is a ticking time bomb, and every moment of distance means she is losing interest. Here is the truth. Silence, used correctly, is not emptiness, it is tension. And tension is the lifeblood of attraction. When you remove your constant availability, you allow her mind to do the work for you. She starts to wonder where you are, what you are doing, and who you might be with. That curiosity is not just mental. It stirs something deeper. Silence gives her the space to feel your absence, and in that space, desire grows. The mistake most men make is breaking the silence too soon. They rush to check in, explain themselves, or seek reassurance. A man who understands his value does not rush. He is comfortable letting moments breathe because he knows his presence carries weight. Stoic philosophy is clear on this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Your task is to master your responses, not to control her reactions." Seneca added, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Your silence lets her imagination work for you. Instead of over-explaining or trying to manage her emotions, you let the natural pull of curiosity do the heavy lifting. There is also strength in not reacting immediately. If she sends a message that could be a jab, a test, or an invitation, you do not need to jump. You can wait. You can respond on your time, with words chosen on purpose instead of out of impulse. This keeps you in control and signals that you are not living at the mercy of attention. Some men hear this and think it is a game. It is not. It is living so that your world does not pause when she is not around. Silence is powerful only when it is genuine, when you are actually occupied with your purpose, your work, your training, your life. That authenticity makes it magnetic instead of manipulative. When you do break the silence, do it deliberately. Your words or your presence should feel intentional, not like you have been anxiously waiting for a chance to reconnect. Now, every interaction carries a charge. She knows you are not desperate for her attention, but when you give it, it means something. The heat comes from contrast. If you are always talking, always texting, always present, there is no contrast and no anticipation. Combine moments of connection with moments of distance, and you create a rhythm that keeps her engaged. It is the same principle that makes music powerful. The pauses are as important as the notes. A man who uses silence well communicates one thing without saying it. I am not afraid to lose you. That energy is intoxicating. It flips the dynamic. Instead of you chasing her, she starts leaning in, closing the gap, wanting to fill the silence with her presence. Epictetus gave the final key: no man is free who is not master of himself. Your silence is self-rule in action. It is the choice to value poise over panic, presence over pleading, timing over noise. Practice it in small ways first. Give a text a little space. Finish the task in front of you before you reply. Let a conversation breathe for a day instead of forcing resolution in an hour. If you have seen someone come closer the moment you stopped overgiving, write this below so your mind remembers it. I own the silence. And do not go anywhere, because once you can kindle heat without a single word, you are ready for the next move that makes your presence unforgettable even when you walk away. That is how silence becomes attraction, pressure, and the spark she cannot name. Number 7. Feed the fire, not the comfort. There is a quiet mistake a lot of men make once they feel a woman is leaning in. They start padding every edge. They text morning and night, pre-book every weekend, and smooth out every bump with reassurance. It feels caring, but it drains voltage. Comfort is good for health. Desire feeds on energy, novelty, and a little tension. When everything becomes predictable, the spark goes flat. Picture Brian, 52, an architect in Phoenix. He meets Vanessa, 49, an ER nurse with a wild schedule. At the start, Brian's life has its own gravity. He trains early, meets his crew for coffee, and blocks deep work on big bids. Dates with Vanessa feel like a high note in a full song. She is curious, a little off balance, and very alive around him. 3 months in, Brian starts managing her feelings. He stops the gym to FaceTime, skips his Saturday ride to be available, and fills silences with long texts. Vanessa appreciates the effort at first, then she drifts. The voltage drops, not because he is unkind, but because he traded edge for comfort. Stoic wisdom is the antidote. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Translate that to desire. Your role is to hold your center, not to micromanage her state. Seneca adds, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." If you spread your attention like warm butter over every moment, there is no edge left to taste. Desire needs contrast. Feeding the fire is not chaos. It is calibrated intensity. Sometimes it is letting a night breathe because you have a sunrise run. Sometimes it is planning a midweek dinner in a part of town she has never seen. Sometimes it is holding a pause after she throws a playful jab, letting your smile answer before your words do. You are not cold, you are intentional. You create a rhythm that alternates warmth with space, so anticipation can do its work. Here is the quiet secret. She does not want a concierge. She wants a man who chooses. The man who says yes because he means it and no because he must. The man whose attention is earned because his life is full. When she feels that, her body wakes up. Curiosity switches on. Your messages do more because there are fewer of them. Your presence feels thicker because your absence had weight. Back to Brian. After noticing Vanessa's vibe cooling, he recalibrates without drama. He returns to his training block, protects his morning focus, and suggests one bold plan for Friday instead of 3 soft check-ins a day. He shows up, rested, present, and playful. Over oysters, he leans in and says, "Next time, I am stealing you for a sunset hike before dinner." The smile he gets is the answer. He fed the fire without begging for heat. A word on sensual tension. Keep it clean but charged. Let your innuendo live in implication, not explicit detail. Ask what neighborhood she has never explored. Ask what music makes her forget the time. Let her imagine the rest. Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. When you master pacing, you give her freedom to want you without feeling smothered. If you catch yourself smoothing every edge, stop and reset. Keep your rituals. Guard your calendar. Choose plans that light you up so the energy spills over. Speak less, mean more. Move with intent. Make presence feel like a privilege, not a prescription. You will notice the difference in her eyes before you hear it in her voice. Type this below to lock it in. I choose the fire. And keep your focus here, because the next shift turns that same heat into the storm she secretly wants, the one that tests your edge and crowns your presence. Number 8. Become the storm she secretly wants. Every woman will tell you she wants peace, stability, and a man who is easy to be around. And to a point, that's true. But beneath that layer, in the part she may never say out loud, is a craving for something wilder. She wants a man who can shake her world, not in a chaotic, destructive way, but in a way that forces her to feel everything more deeply. This is the storm she secretly wants. Not a hurricane of drama, but the electric tension that makes her pulse quicken and her mind spin long after you're gone. The mistake most men make is believing that to be loved, they must be predictable. Predictable is safe, but safe is also forgettable. The storm is not about losing control, it's about controlling the elements you choose to unleash. Think of it like this. Calm seas are pleasant, but no sailor writes stories about them. She wants the thrill of riding the waves with you, knowing you can handle the wheel. Stoic philosophy can guide you here. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Desire works the same way. It needs friction, challenge, and contrast to come alive. If you remove all the challenge from your interactions, you remove the charge that makes attraction magnetic. Becoming the storm starts with your presence. You walk into the room and carry energy that shifts the atmosphere. You're grounded, but you radiate potential movement. You can make her laugh until she forgets herself, then fall silent, and let the moment breathe until she wonders what you're thinking. You don't react to every cue. Sometimes you pull back, sometimes you lean in, and sometimes you simply hold the space and let her feel the pull. Your words matter too. The storm isn't about speaking more, it's about speaking with precision and intention. Drop statements that make her stop and think. Ask questions that push her past autopilot responses. Share your opinions without filtering them to be safe, but without being needlessly abrasive. It's the unpredictability within your groundedness that makes her lean forward. And then there's your physicality. You move like you own your space, but you're never in a rush. You hold eye contact a heartbeat longer than she expects. You choose when to close the distance and when to let it stretch until the tension hums. Like a storm cloud forming on the horizon, you let her sense that something could happen at any moment and that you're fully in command of it. This doesn't mean you create constant intensity. A storm is powerful because it has a rhythm. Build, peak, release, calm. You create the build by letting your energy rise naturally through the conversation, your presence, and your attention. You peak when the moment demands it, a bold statement, a confident touch, a decisive action, and then you release, letting the calm settle in just long enough for her to crave the next rise. Epictetus said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." When you embody the storm, you do exactly that. You bring her into a state where she feels more alive, more alert, more in touch with herself, not because you're trying to please her, but because you're fully expressed in who you are. If you think she only wants comfort, you'll give her something pleasant but forgettable. If you dare to be the storm, you'll give her something unforgettable. And here's the truth, once she's felt it, she won't stop thinking about it. If you've ever been told you're too much or intense, understand this. In the right dose, that intensity is your greatest weapon. Harness it, shape it, use it to create moments that live rent-free in her mind. Type this below if you're ready to step into that role. I am the storm. And keep going, because next we'll talk about how to make that same energy linger in her long after you've left. Number 9. Lead with power, not pleasing. Most men get this backwards. They think the fastest way to a woman's heart is through endless agreement, constant validation, and making sure she's always comfortable. But here's the truth, pleasing is a short-term tactic that erodes long-term attraction. Power, on the other hand, builds respect, deepens desire, and keeps the dynamic alive. Leading with power doesn't mean being domineering or controlling. It's about having a clear sense of direction, making decisions with confidence, and setting the tone for the relationship. Women are drawn to men who are grounded in who they are, men who are not swayed by every mood or whim. This is why the Stoics valued inner strength above external approval. As Epictetus put it, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." Let's look at a real example. Imagine David, 42, a successful architect, dating Melissa, 38, who's used to men bending over backwards for her. Early in their relationship, she tries to test him, changing plans last minute, seeing how he reacts when she hints she's talking to other men. Most guys in his position would rush to win her back with extra attention or gifts. David didn't. Instead, he kept his plans, calmly told her he doesn't chase drama, and followed through with his own evening. The result? She was more intrigued than ever. Why? Because he didn't place her comfort above his own standards. Power in this context is subtle. It's in your tone when you speak, in the way you carry yourself in public, in your refusal to explain every decision. It's showing through your actions that you are the anchor in the storm, not the man scrambling for approval. Women might not say it out loud, but they respect a man more when he leads with purpose and certainty, rather than seeking constant affirmation. Pleasing behavior might get you gratitude in the moment, but it also shifts the power dynamic. If every decision is made to keep her happy, you're not leading, you're following. And while she might enjoy the perks for a while, deep down she'll sense that you've put her on a pedestal she didn't ask for. Over time, attraction fades because the challenge is gone. The monster she secretly desires is a man who knows his value without needing her to confirm it. He makes her feel safe because he's decisive, not because he's agreeable. He takes her input, but he doesn't let it override his vision. This creates polarity, the electric pull between masculine and feminine energy that makes the connection exciting. It's also important to understand that leading with power requires emotional control. If she pushes back or tests you, your response should be measured, not reactive. The Stoics taught that your emotions are yours to command. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that when she throws you a curveball, you stay steady, you lead through it, and you make decisions from a place of principle, not panic. There will be times when leading with power means saying no, even if it disappoints her in the short term. That's okay. In fact, it's necessary. A man who never risks upsetting a woman will never truly earn her respect. So, if you've ever caught yourself over-explaining, over-apologizing, or overcompensating just to keep a woman's interest, it's time to flip the script. Lead with strength. Make your decisions with conviction, and trust that the right woman will be drawn to that energy. If you know this is the shift you need, drop it in the comments. I lead with strength. And stick around, because what comes next will show you how to turn this power into a magnetic force she won't want to escape. Number 10. Be the desire she fears to admit. Every man wants to be desired. But there's a deeper layer to this, becoming the kind of man she craves in a way she would never admit, even to her closest friends. This is not about cheap tricks, flashy status symbols, or calculated lines. It's about embodying a presence so magnetic, so unapologetically masculine, that it awakens something primal in her, and yet it unsettles her at the same time. That's the paradox. The desire she fears to admit is the one that shakes her balance. It's not safe, it's not comfortable, it's thrilling, unpredictable, and a little dangerous, not because you're reckless, but because you refuse to fit neatly into her world. You stand outside it, making her feel drawn to cross the invisible line between what she thinks she wants and what her instincts truly crave. To become that man, you have to be deeply grounded in who you are. Your confidence can't be the type that wobbles under praise or criticism. It has to be the quiet kind that doesn't need an audience. The Stoics lived by this. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." When you live a life tested by challenge, when you've built yourself into a man who's self-sufficient yet passionate, your presence radiates a depth that most men can't fake. This doesn't mean you're cold or distant. On the contrary, you bring warmth, but in doses she has to earn. You give enough to keep her leaning forward, wondering what it would take to have all of you. You never hand over your entire soul in the first weeks or even months. You understand the power of restraint, because once she senses she's won you completely, the mystery starts to fade. Here's the thing, many women have a mental checklist for the ideal man, and it usually includes traits that make her feel secure and in control. But the man who truly captivates her is the one who doesn't play by that list. He's respectful but not obedient. He's attentive but not dependent. He brings excitement into her life without becoming her entertainment on demand. And yes, this can make her conflicted. She might even tell herself you're too much or too intense. But her actions will reveal the truth she keeps coming back. That's because you've tapped into a part of her that's rarely touched, the part that yearns for a man she can't fully predict or possess. One of the most potent ways to solidify this is by living a life bigger than her. Your ambitions, your passions, your mission, they all need to exist outside of her approval. A man who chases his own vision without asking permission becomes a gravitational force. She feels it. She can't help but be drawn into your orbit, even when it scares her. It's also important to balance this magnetic energy with integrity. Power without principle can become toxicity. The Stoics understood this balance well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to be firm in purpose but just in action. When you combine unshakable masculinity with fairness, you become both the storm and the calm that follows. At the end of the day, being the desire she fears to admit is about becoming a man who doesn't need her validation yet still chooses her. It's about showing her a level of strength, passion, and unpredictability she can't find anywhere else. And it's about holding that line, not shrinking to fit her comfort, not dimming your light to make her feel safe from her own attraction. When you live like this, you don't just win her attention, you etch yourself into her thoughts in a way she won't easily escape. She might never say it out loud, but deep down, she'll know you're the man she couldn't tame, the one she both resists and can't let go of. That's the truth most men never realize. You don't win her heart by bending yourself into what's easy for her to handle. You win it by becoming the man she can't stop thinking about, even if she never admits it. If you want to live like this every day, keep sharpening your mind, your body, and your spirit. That's the work of a true Stoic: strength with purpose, desire with discipline. If you're ready to keep growing into that kind of man, subscribe now. Inside, you'll find other men walking the same path, pushing each other to become unstoppable. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with another lesson that could change everything for you. Stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, you are the storm,